Kia ora, fellow wanderers. Welcome to part 3 of our conversation with Shaman Sarah Hawley. In part 1, we learned about the Munai Key rites. Part 2, we talked about the work of a shaman, soul retrieval, stuff like that. For this section, we're diving more into the time to come and how the consciousness shifting is manifesting in the people and the world around us. Enjoy. The ultimate goal of the work that you're doing with your clients, I guess the ultimate goal of the clients would be fill in the blank.
Yeah, an interesting sub-question to that is why are they at that moment choosing something with shamanic energy in it rather than just counseling? Can't speak for the clients, really, but reviewing the many years that I've worked, these people would be steadily on a spiritual journey, if you will, aware that there's something to this energy field thing, and they've tried therapy, and they've tried the medication, they've tried all kinds of things, and there must be something more. These are people that are wanting to have some of those abilities themselves a lot of times, sort of already maybe in their own healing, maybe they're healers themselves a lot of times, and they're wanting to get more of a grasp some of these tools for their own work. Not just attached to the left brain thing, wanting to expand the intuitive, wanting to expand the psychic abilities. For me, my own goals in doing this work is to facilitate people living the broadest form of being here on this planet, not limited to the ways that our parents might have done things, but being able to become an angelic creature embodied in this human frame, to facilitate the growth of a new species.
That brings us back to the Homo luminous, and Alberto talks about how we've always thought that evolution happened between generations rather than within the generation, but this time it's different.
He indicates that it happens in generations right now.
Yeah.
And we're certainly able to accelerate that. 7 of these 9 rites were with us historically back through time, but 2 more rites came to us through the Inca 3 years ago. And it's those 2, the 8th rite, the Starkeeper's rite, that actually assist that DNA becoming solid and adding new chains to it. And they have done double-blind studies on this. We're able to look at some people before and after getting these rites and to see the DNA stack up a different way.
Wow.
I should be able to list the source right here, but if you do a search, I think it'll get you somewhere. Alberto Villoldo DNA.
See, the science is finally catching up with the woo-woo.
I feel it's really important, or else it could be just another folk medicine, because there's a lot of things around that are just folk medicine. It's what people believed, and so we believe it too.
Right. Which is so easily dismissed.
Yeah. We want,
snake
and so
oil.
Easily believed.
Right. Well, snake oil, you got them on both sides.
Yeah.
Now, how do you see this evolution manifesting in people around you? And not necessarily people you work with, but just in the world at large.
Yeah. It's interesting, I led a fire ceremony the other night after they were having Munai Key. One of my students has created a great big Munai Key community as well, Tomas. And some people, I had been to that Munai Key months ago and seen them and noted that there was a density about them, sort of a heaviness, almost a depression. And when I talked to some of the people, they had by this time had all the rites. They're very light, more like a bird. They started out a bear and seemed more like a bird, not ungrounded, just sort of brighter, more fluid, and not someone that you would deem depressed at all. Just someone being present and enjoying the nature while I was setting the fire. People are able to step into being teachers where they weren't necessarily doing that before, able to teach the Moonai Ki themselves, or whatever it is they're already doing in their lives. They're adding an element to it that is like a wisdom keeper, as you put in the title of the introduction. In their own way, they are just being that leader, rather than just someone who was an architect or a secretary. Now they're that, but they're also, engaged with some form of helping other people awaken spiritually. So there's like this piece added to people's lives that seems to want to be of service, spiritually, in a grounded way. And then with myself and my closer friendship circle, I'd say there's an increased interest in being here and being really here and addressing anything that would keep me from being fully present on the planet. I'll go right down to me right now.
Right.
The last 2 months, definitely a journey that I went on, because we can be addicted to even to the etheric plane, to many things.
Right.
And by letting go of that and just being more and more here, this is what I noticed too, people being more grounded. A lot of Americans are not grounded.
Especially right now.
Stress, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note, a lot of people that have been engaged with this, because you can convert your nervous system pretty easily to a more relaxed place just by doing some of the practices that are available through this tradition, are relaxed. They're more relaxed people. Or if they're having sort of various bits of incongruity and still have some high energy or stress in certain places, we notice it more and attend to it.
For myself, the longing to be of service is definitely a huge pull over the past year or more.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I'm stepping more fully into my dharma or my path, finally, and it's partly allowing myself to be creative and partly allowing myself to be of service and partly to live more fully in my spiritual life, but like you said, in the grounded way.
Yeah.
Incorporating all of those things.
Yeah, and I think part of what that is, the foundational rites, or the first 4 rites we give people just to set up the energy field with protections and so forth. The next rites, 5th through 9th, have to do with stewardship. And as you go through 5th through 9th, there's a greater and greater stewardship for things, which means is I am willing to be here in a way that I hold space for all of life. And that sounds kind of big, doesn't it? But you got to include yourself.
Right.
So in Aini, which means in reciprocity, in a way that serves me, because a lot of us maybe were caretakers, so all we did was serve, but then we were just running out. No, this is a kind of to hold space in a way that's just of highest service, and it almost becomes a mandate when those rites that you received, and it took about a year or so for you, and when they germinate, turn into big fields of corn in the energy field, the seeds are seeds when we first give them in the rites, and then they grow with the process that we teach. And then it's almost like your life isn't quite full if you're not spreading information about waking up. Essentially, that's what we're talking about.
Or if you're not engaging with that internal process in an external way.
Yeah. It's one thing to be doing your work and going to therapy. It's another way to be
living it every day.
Yeah, and sharing it with others somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that was the final installment of our conversation with Sarah Hawley. The shamanic journey is incredibly powerful. If you have an interest and access, I highly recommend you check it out. On future episodes, we'll talk to other healers such as Scott Schwink and Jeannie Elmstrom, as well as the founders of Monks Without Borders, Zach Perlman and Ryan Duggan. Until then, take care, take heart, and always take the road less traveled.